Hello and welcome everyone to the GGG Podcast. We are back. Oh my goodness, we took another week off. I was out of town again doing a bachelor partying. I'm a best man for a wedding. I'm very excited about it. But I am back in Los Angeles recording here with Phil. Phil, how have you been while I've been gone?
I have been in constant pain because I cut sugar out of my diet. I take every opportunity to talk about it. It's not a medical thing. It's just for fun. But the fun is much like Elden Ring, a slog through an endless sea of tortures and sadness.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I don't know. I should eliminate some of my vices. I don't know if sugar's the next one on my list, but
it's a tough one. It's super legal, unlike most of the best vices.
Are you a big sweets guy?
Oh yeah, I have a giant sweet tooth. When it comes, like, for me, sweet sour things like Sour Patch Kids, lemon heads, all my jam.
Yeah.
Do you have a sweet tooth as well, my friend?
I mean, when I am inebriated, I can have a bit of a sweet tooth, but I would say normally I'm a savory guy. Like I won't go out of if sweets are available, sure, but like I don't buy sweets at the grocery store, so I just don't have them in the house. But as we were discussing before we were recording, there's sugar in frickin' everything. So
sugar in
yeah,
literally everything. I feel like people are walking up to vegetables and just lacing them with sugar. It's
pretty much
not cool.
Just spraying with sugar spray. So yeah. All right. Well, but getting back into gaming as
our show that's clearly about games.
Yeah, and not about sugar addiction. So we got a good show for you guys this week. We got kind of a weird assortment of news today, some gaming news and a lot of like shutting down and weird press releases and that kind of a thing. Obviously Erdtree came out, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. It's all over the interwebs. So yeah, but before we get into all that, Phil, what have you been playing since I've been gone?
Since you've been gone, I've been playing, let's see. I haven't really messed around on the PS4 or PS5 too much. I haven't messed around on the PS4 at all.
Yeah, I haven't messed around with PS4 either. God darn.
I've been playing more multiverses. For some reason, that's like found this really great spot in my life where I just pop on, I wreck a few people online, and then I lose a couple times and I get angry and I leave. I stop playing. It's the perfect rhythm.
Right.
But outside of that, I did get back into Elden Ring. I played it when it originally launched, and like most FromSoft games, I got to a point where I was like, what am I even doing? And then I stopped playing. And then I figured, for shiggles, let me go see what this boss is that you have to beat to open up the DLC. And he wrecked my entire body. And then I had to go grind, and I've just been sort of in the grind and like, oh yeah, this game's pretty fun. There's some cool stuff here. But I haven't played the DLC, which that is, I feel like, the biggest release. It's like almost another game-sized game within Elden Ring.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about it. What have you played, if anything at all? I know you've been out of town.
Well, I got back right before the weekend, and then I was sick for a while, so I wasn't doing anything other than just playing games in bed.
Oh, hell yeah.
So yeah, but I've dipped into multiverses again as well. I agree with you. Like, I feel like it's a good game that it's just you log in. I like doing the daily rewards in the rifts. I don't play online that much, but I've done it a couple times. And so, yeah, it's a good game to just be like, I'm going to just play this for 20 minutes and then not play it anymore. So I've been into that. And I would say probably the game I've been playing the most is actually the finals. Getting back into the final. Season 3 has released, which is like they have a new map, and they've reorganized the modes a little bit, made some of their temporary modes permanent modes in the game. The only thing I'm a little disappointed with it is that the ranking system for ranked matches is not like out yet. for this season necessarily. So like there is like a world tour mode that has like a leaderboard and stuff, but there doesn't seem, you can't like get ranked. And I like playing the finals ranked because that's, to me, it's kind of like the point of playing the finals is to get to the final round, and then you're in the finals and you're doing the title, you know. So so that's what
I used to be so afraid of ranked matchmaking in games, but ranked is really good for like, okay, this is where you're at.
yeah.
Like you're learning and getting better. Versus, I was like, I'll just play in casual play because the serious people aren't playing there. No, the serious people go there just to hurt feelings.
To warm up, to warm up
Yeah.
pre-stream. But no, honestly, if anybody out there is intimidated by playing like ranked matchmaking and stuff, it's like, I get it. It can be toxic and whatnot, but sometimes like don't be ashamed of like getting ranked into Bronze League, because that just means that you can have fun in Bronze League. You know, with people who are not taking it as seriously. It's when
The triple plat people are just like,
Yeah.
you turn on your PC and you're dead.
it's really like Gold League and up where it starts getting toxic, and you know, because people are good and they take it very seriously. So but I've been playing a lot of that. I did play some Helldivers, played the new War Bond. Haven't unlocked the throwing knives yet, but I'm very curious about them. But honestly, I was more impressed with all of the buffs and just fixes that they've put into the game. Pretty much every gun in the game has gotten a little bit of a buff, which I've really enjoyed, just because it makes everything easier. And they've also, like, if you need super samples, you can now get super samples on extreme difficulty instead of suicide mission. And so, like, that has helped a lot. And just playing on level 6, it just feels more fun. You know, it's a little less stressful. Still want to do the hard difficulty sometimes, but if I'm just trying to enjoy it, I don't want to like be sweaty the whole time. So.
Yeah, sometimes it's nice. I did get to play a little bit of the new War Bond as well, and I really like the aesthetic. I'm like, oh, this fits perfectly with this game. Yeah, really, it's quality work. I think they're biding their time a little bit for their next big like content drop, and I'm I'm like, let them cook.
Yeah, let them cook. Take a little break. We'll come back to it. We got Elden Ring is all the rage right now. So like, oh, and before we move on, there is one other game that I played for the first time that you in particular would be very interested in. And that is while I was at the bachelor party, 2 of my friends at the bachelor party are very into this card game. I don't know if you've heard of it. Magique.
It's French.
Yes. and then after the bachelor party, I was spending time with my family, and I needed some alone time, so I like locked myself in a bedroom and I downloaded Magic Online on my phone.
Arena.
Yes. And so
So
I started playing Magic Arena on my phone, and I have downloaded officially on my desktop. And I'm committed.
That's how it starts.
I am committed to not spending any money, though. I'm committed. I am a free-to-play Magic player.
That is how I feel like. Okay, I got to give Magic Arena props because they have a pretty good like free-to-play system. Like you earn packs as you play, and you kind of like get used to your deck, and then you get lots of ways to like get the cards that you need. So it is a pretty open free-to-play like thing. It doesn't feel like you hit a wall at any point. It's just like if you get the battle pass, they give you more stuff. But I'm glad you're into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly a little simpler than I thought it was going to be. Like I like obviously Magic came first, but it feels a lot like Hearthstone. With a little bit of Pokemon sprinkled into it for some reason. So, and I played that as a kid, so I remember I gotta have my energy cards, you know. I mean, that's what it is.
They're called mana now. No,
Right.
they're
Right.
I feel like Magic is a lot like the Fortnite of card games because like Assassin's Creed's in there, Fallout's in there. There's a lot of different things all coming together.
Right.
And I do love the fact that you can have like Mr. Gutsy using Anduril from Lord of the Rings fighting Godzilla in that game. Pretty sick.
Yeah, it's an expansive universe. So
Very.
All right, so let's get into our major releases. There's really only one major release to talk about this week, and that is the Elden Ring DLC Shadow of Erdtree. Is it the Erdtree or Erdtree?
You know, I have no idea.
I'm gonna look that up real quick. This is where
There
we
we
need
go.
a producer on this podcast too.
It's Shadow of the Erdtree.
The Erdtree, excellent. That's what I thought.
Uh-huh.
All right, I'll fix that in the agenda. But yeah, it's been all the rage. It's kind of, I feel like, split the community a little bit, where people are like being like, it's too difficult, and then there's other guys who are like, it's a skill issue. You just need to get good. And other people are like, oh, it's the best DLC that's ever come out for a video game ever. So you've actually gotten a chance to play it a little bit, Phil. What do you? I mean, sort of.
Yeah, no, I've been playing Elden Ring. I don't have Shadow of the Erdtree
Okay.
downloaded, but yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about like the difficulty and all that stuff later. But good on them for doing that, for like making a pretty sizable expansion.
Yeah.
And I think that can be a challenge when you have a game that's an RPG where you've got people who've leveled their characters up to like 200 or 300.
Right.
How are you going to make a challenge for them later without like resetting everything they've done? They had to up the ante a little bit. Good for them. I will say, people were so afraid of this game coming out that no one has released a big game for months. But everyone is getting the hell out of the way.
Cleared the board, yeah.
It's clear through till November. But yeah, no, it's I don't know what the numbers are for it, but it seems pretty positive. And again, like, this is a good time for it because nothing else is out, and people can really sink their teeth into something huge.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll talk about more Erdtree in our main topic, and we're going to talk about game difficulty in general. But for right now, let's move into the news. And the top story today across the interwebs is Dr. Disrespect. Some new details came out about his case, and particularly his Twitch ban that happened several years ago. And there was a lot of mystique around when this at first happened. At the time, and I guess still now, I'm not a big Dr. Disrespect follower or anything like that, so I just assumed that he did something, because his name is Dr. Disrespect. It's like I'm sure he was offensive in some way.
Him, no, nice guy.
But essentially, what came out today is the case has been settled, and the details from two employees in particular at Twitch have come out. And essentially, what happened was Dr. Disrespect was messaging a minor, which is obviously a no-no.
Yep.
And he was sending private messages to a minor, and they were inappropriate, and kind of hinted at, meeting up and at an event and whatnot. And nothing ended up happening. But that is what led to his Twitch ban. And that is why Dr. Disrespect has been over on YouTube for several years now. And also with all of this news coming out, Dr. Disrespect yesterday, I believe, he released a statement this morning. But yesterday he was like, I am going on a vacation, and I will come back later, not now. So sounds like he's taking
some point.
Yeah, he's taking a little sabbatical. I know we don't usually talk about streamers on this show, but he has a big following, and he is on the front page of all the gaming sites today. So
yeah,
felt like we had to address it in some fashion.
Totally. It's Dr. Disrespect. It's always weird when it's someone who's in an industry that is kind of like in children's entertainment in a sense, or like, young adult entertainment. Specifically like video games kind of, I feel like, fall into that space. And to find out that there was just an abuse of that like sort of fame is extra gross. But
Sure.
the whole good on Twitch for immediately being like, hey, get out. It's tough to say because I don't know all the details. I haven't been following his career, but it's such big news that it feels like one of the main streamers for specifically Call of Duty.
Yeah.
With someone who's got a lot of different emotes and things in games.
Yeah, he is in Call of Duty. So
yeah. I wonder if it's one of those things where, well, I'm sure it's very easy to be like, we're not selling that skin anymore, but it's just sort of an indelible mark on the gaming community.
yeah.
And provided, we don't, I guess, know the full details of what happened. But either way, it's not great.
Well,
great,
I
Dr.
mean,
Disro.
so I mean, the details that's the whole big thing about today is that these are the details. It's that
These are the
so he never met up or did anything. It was the main thing was just the messaging back and forth, and I believe I also believe he was married at the time, so that factors into it. Another thing worth mentioning is a game studio that he started. They've decided to have him
cut ties with them.
Yeah, have him step down. So that's I think the smart thing to do there, as well as he's starting to lose sponsorships. I think the first one that dropped him today was Turtle Beach, the headset company.
Yeah.
So if Mr. Respect comes back into the news, we'll talk about him again. But
first name Dis,
yep.
Last name Respect. Imagine if he comes back as like Professor Respect, and he's just like got no mustache.
Yeah, he just wears a lab coat.
Yeah.
Or I guess no, that would be kind of doctory if he wore a lab coat. But,
true. But, he does his messaging's all over the place.
Right. All right, so let's press on, get off of the streamer news. So Sony is working on a PS3 emulator to work on PS5. This was kind of like I don't know. This was kind of like a why for me a little bit, because like there are PlayStation Classics that you can play through certain PlayStation Plus subscriptions, and then there's also like ones you can just buy right out, and like for me, I've owned a PlayStation since I was a little kid, but I've definitely like, why do I need all these physical PS3 games? And like I've taken to GameStop and they gave me a banana and a nickel, and I've gotten rid of them. So it's like I think I still have a couple PS3 games that they wouldn't take, and those ones I kept. But I don't know if this is something that I care about. What about you, Phil? Do you still have some physical PS3 games that you want to pop in your PS5 for any reason?
Nary a one. I don't even have a PS5 with a disc drive. That's how over discs I am. I feel like the market is swinging that way. And if you could get a digital version of Metal Gear Solid 4, do that instead. Do that 100%. Don't like get a disc that you have to worry about the upkeep of.
Yeah.
I know people are weird about digital rights, and there's something for the game preservationist out there.
Right.
But I don't know. I feel like it is a weird thing to have, considering there's like another emulation way right there. The PlayStation 3. I was gonna say PS3, which sounds like a star system.
Sure.
The PS3 had cell architecture like in their game files they were made up.
Yeah.
It was so different that a lot of their games couldn't be ported, or like they couldn't do backwards compatibility with the PS4 initially. And if that has a lot to do with like the Blu-ray drive and all that stuff, I think we're okay without it. PlayStation, it's okay if we could get the game digitally. It's $5. It's typically like $5.
So the article that I'm using here also goes on to say it's like a lot of PS3 games that you get through like the PlayStation Plus subscription. A lot of them are like streamable. So you're not actually playing it on your PS5. It's part of their live streaming gaming service, and so I think this would make it so it's like you can run it on your PS5, and the frame rate will be better because it's actually running on your PS5, not in a server room with a bunch of PS3s hooked up together.
To be fair, though, that little bit of jank is exactly what I remember from my PS3. Like,
Yeah. So, I don't know. This little teensy weensy amount of news from Sony does not make up for the fact that they didn't do anything at E3 this year or Summer Games Fest or whatever.
The fact that they lost to Microsoft is alarming somehow.
Yes. So yeah, cool if it's free. I'm not gonna, crap on a free feature, but I don't know that this is gonna. I don't like. First of all, Sony hasn't even confirmed that this is going to be a thing. It's just been confirmed that they are working on it. Which, like, if you haven't figured it out by now, like, I don't know what's been taking so long.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna crack the science here. There's some guy working in a lab coat. I got it.
Yeah, Professor Disrespect.
Professor Respect is out there.
All right, let's press on. You got this next one, Phil?
Totally. So, Palworld says that there's no legal action for Pokemon as of yet. Kind of makes sense. I don't know. We talked about this a lot. Like, it's a Pokemon-like, okay, but it's also a completely different game. It's more of a survival game with these like monsters that you catch to help you survive.
Yeah.
Very different game. Sure, some of the designs are similar, but also I don't think Nintendo can be like, "Hey, we're gonna sue you because we were gonna do a game like that." Like, that's not a
Yeah, that's not a legal argument.
Yeah, there's nothing to sue for, I think. There's some similarities, but largely happy to see that at least they said there's no legal action coming through. I believe Nintendo was very like cagey. They were like, "Oh, no, but we're considering it."
They had
back in the day.
Yeah, the Pokemon Company had a press release specifically about Palworld, and it's just kind of funny to see that they had all bark and no bite. And like we talked about it, like you said, when Palworld, initially came out, that like it looks very similar to Pokemon, but there's all of these other franchises, whether they're TV shows or whether they're video games or whatever media they are, that are kind of like Pokemon. And if they haven't sued any of those, why are they going to sue? Why are they going to be able to take legal action against this one? So
yeah,
I'm happy about this, honestly, because I think the only way Pokemon is going to get better is by having good competition. Because I think Pokemon isn't really my thing anymore. I used to play it a lot when I was a kid. But I have noticed the just lack of quality and it's just falling off. And like with how disappointing Pokemon Arceus was, or Arceus, or however we say it.
It's a fictional Pokemon god. I've played almost every mainline Pokemon game and some of the extras, and I enjoyed Arceus. So I was like, oh, they're doing something. This is different.
It's different.
But then Palworld came out and just knocked their socks off, just ate their lunch. So, like you said, I think, if they're going to sue Palworld over this, they got to sue Digimon. They got to sue Monster Rancher.
Yeah.
I know there's more.
Yeah, there's more out there. Ones we haven't heard of. So they just wanted to bark because they sold so many copies.
Yeah.
They were upset about that.
They had to comment on it and be like, but hey, remember who the real monster guys are.
Yeah.
It's us. Nintendo.
Yeah, it's Pikachu, remember? So, all right. Pressing right along in the news. So Call of Duty, both Modern Warfare 3 and Call of Duty Warzone are adding many things, but among those things is a new Lego-esque multiplayer mode. Where everything is kind of pixelated and cartoony, and which is a little bit odd for me. I get that, there is some overlap in markets with like games like Fortnite and whatnot, but it's just seeing Call of Duty come down to this very cartoony places is just a little weird for me as someone who has played the first Call of Duty ever and experienced all of the Call of Duties ever. And I've played every single one of them, but I've, watched media on all of them. And it's just weird that we're now in this place of like cartoony, pixelated Call of Duty gaming. So, I don't. Does this draw you in at all? Do you think this is a win for the COD community?
No. No, I think it's interesting,
Right.
but I don't really see the appeal as Call of Duty have kind of like put themselves in the zone of like we're the more realistic, like gritty. They have their sort of character skins that you can buy, being like more a late teen to adult. Like you have the boys skins.
Yeah,
and
you can
like
play
Megan
as Snoop
Thee Stallion.
Dogg and Nicki Minaj.
Yeah. It's all about like kind of weed jokes and fart jokes and bong rips over there.
Yeah.
And them kind of coming into this zone. It feels weird because like the characters aren't Lego characters. They are
Right.
they're versions of like as if built by building blocks.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't really know the appeal unless it's going to be like a thing where it's going to be fully destructible environments, but it just looks like Legos. Like that would be more interesting. But I don't know. Overall, I can't really see a reason. I'm like, oh, look, it's bright and colorful. This is cute. Like,
Right. Yeah.
why is Call of Duty in that space?
You bring up a good point. Like, I would love if that mode meant that, all the environments are destructible now. And so you can see all the pixels fly and as you blow up this car or you demolish this building or something like that. And that kind of brings me back to, the good old Battlefield days when you can actually do things like that. And it wasn't about sniping from 600 meters away. I think that would be an interesting take. I don't know if that is actually going to be an included feature.
I mean, that would be a big like experiment for them. Like if
Right.
they're okay, this is what we're going to do in a future game. Let's try it out here. But then again, I feel like the software needed to like make that happen would be a pretty huge pull for a game that's already like 300 gigabytes on everyone's hard drives. Like
Yeah. Especially if you got both versions. So
yeah, they're not going to optimize. They're like, hey, this is a 60 gigabyte map. Enjoy.
yeah, we're still using the same engine, everyone. Although that's changing. I know that's changing. So yeah, I don't know. It's a little weird. Again, like I said, I know that there's some crossover in the marketplace with Fortnite and COD, but I feel like, you either want to play Fortnite or you want to play COD. And I don't know. I am not in touch with the Call of Duty community anymore. It is left my being. Although I still really like X Defiant. So if you're into more of that old school Call of Duty Twitch shootery action, X Defiant is the game for you. I would recommend.
It is kind of weird that they had to that Ubisoft is now the one scratching that itch when for the longest time it's been Activision. It's like, we got shooting down. But yeah, sure. I get my overall response is sure. I'm not going to play it.
Here's kind of a broader question. Do you think like something like this? I mean, something like this had to probably be in development for a while, but is this something that you think Microsoft kind of wants to push them in the direction of because they see like Fortnite is epic and they're a direct competitor with Microsoft, at least in the game space. And so it's like, all right, we need to kind of be like Fortnite where we have with games within the game. And so like maybe this is the first step in that direction of not just like doing licensing deals where we're getting all these, skins from pop culture, but it's also like, oh no, this is a different game mode. It's kind of like Lego Fortnite, where there's, it's a completely different game within Fortnite. So do you think Microsoft might push them in that direction? Or
I could see that. I know how Microsoft enjoys sanding down the interesting edges of things until they're a complete circle. So I could very easily see Microsoft being like, listen, kids are playing Call of Duty. Why don't we make it like Legos? Kids love Legos.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, see? That's Bill Gates. That's my Bill Gates impersonation.
That's how he sounds. So, all right. Well, pressing right along, something I'm quite disappointed in. So Life by You, this is a game that we brought up previously on the podcast before, and this was going to be a direct competitor to The Sims, which I've been dying for, has been canceled. And the game has been canceled. The studio has officially been shut down. The game was supposed to go into an early access release 3 times and got delayed from the early access release 3 times. And like, that is a huge red flag that it's like you've already like been like, all right, we're going to commit to early access. So we know that the game is not going to be perfect when it launches, but that we had to delay it 3 times, and then it just got canceled. So the game must have just been in a horrible, horrible state.
In a rough state. Now, this cancellation, I was going to say last delay. This did come right before the game was set to launch in early access, right? Like they had set a date, and then it was about a week before they were like, "JK, we're not going to do it."
Yeah, that's crazy. You've got to be really self-conscious of your work. If you're like, we can't, I don't even want to release it.
The day before it came out.
Yeah. Like, that's crazy.
You could make, I'm sure it's not worse than the day much. Somehow it was worse.
Yeah.
Like, here's my conspiracy. I think that the Sims inside of that game, I know they're not called Sims, but for our purposes.
Yes.
The Sims inside of that game became aware of life and their role in it. And they were starting like an AI overthrow, so the game had to be shelved, put on a hard drive, and like thrown to the ocean.
Oh my god, that's a good theory.
Yeah,
I hope that's what actually happened. But yeah,
the game's too good. They're alive.
Yeah, I'm so disappointed though, because like I really like The Sims, but the bastardization and the microtransactions that Maxis and EA have attached to The Sims like drives me absolutely crazy, that you have to pay $40 for a pack of items that barely expand the game. And I would have loved to have just seen like a game come out, even if it was a full price game, it was a $60 or $70 game, but it just had everything built into it already, and they weren't trying to, gouge you all the time with microtransactions. I would have really liked to have seen that, similarly to how I was talking about Palworld. It's like the only way The Sims is going to get better is if they have good competition. And if they don't have any competition, they're just going to keep doing what they've been doing and releasing these packs and never releasing The Sims 5. Or eventually releasing The Sims 5 and then taking away all of the content that they've worked on all of these years. So you have to buy another furniture pack and pet pack and career pack and university pack and all of this stuff that should just be included in the game. So I don't know. Very disappointed. I hope that I kind of want somebody to buy them. I want somebody to buy them.
That'd be great.
And
make an actual game.
Yeah. And see if there's something they can salvage out of the game, and just release an early access, low expectations. And if you get the game to a workable place, do what all early access games do, where they do like, this is the official release, even though we really came out 2 years ago, like V Rising did, and like Valheim did, and like all those games. So
yeah, just let people experience it and engage with it rather than just dipping on it. But assuming that is, they probably know something we don't, and like we both alluded to, the game might have been in a rough state.
Yeah. Yes. Unfortunately. All right. Next on the list, Sony continues to make waves by shutting down their rewards program. Probably not a lot of people in the rewards program, although I am one of those people.
Me too.
Oh, excellent. But if you still have an opportunity to redeem any rewards that you've built up over time, I know I've got like a $20 gift card, and I think I almost have enough to redeem another $20 gift card. So that's something, for PSN. But yeah, you have a chance to redeem any of those rewards up until December 24th. of this year, so the day before Christmas. So
Okay.
you still have plenty of time to do it. But yeah, if you've ever subscribed or signed up for Sony Rewards, log in there and spend what you got. There's not like a lot of great physical things that you can get, like unless you want kind of a bland God of War T-shirt or something like that. So I'd probably say just go for the PSN gift cards, but it's worth using them while you got them. So
Yeah.
I wonder.
Now,
Go ahead.
was this the one that was tied to the? Oh yes, this is the program that was like tied to like their PlayStation cards a lot of the times.
Yeah, so there was like
Yeah.
a PlayStation credit card you could get, but you didn't have to have a PlayStation credit card to sign up for the rewards. It was just you can get more rewards if you got the credit card, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, there's plenty of times where I got like a $20 gift card there or two $10 gift cards to like reduce the price of a game.
Right.
So it was a pretty cool thing. Their Stars program is, I think, the sort of new thing to replace it.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is an interesting thing because that can occasionally get you games, but mostly it's just like, here's an Astro Boy hat for Nathan Drake.
Yeah, you can put it on your digital shelf.
Yeah.
So,
which is literally just a 3D object you get to look at and be like, oh, cool.
it's a freaking NFT. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I think that was the idea with PlayStation Stars is like, we need to have our own PlayStation NFT program. And so that's what it was. And I've actually noticed, because when I first read this earlier this week, I was concerned that like PlayStation Stars was going as well. And so I logged in there and I was having problems getting into my Stars account. So I think it's probably exactly what you just said, where it's like they're canceling the rewards program and they're going to integrate it into the PlayStation Stars program, so it's just all under one roof. Hopefully you can still get gift cards instead of useless NFTs that aren't worth anything, but we will see, and time will tell. Yeah.
Well, I know that you're excited about this next story.
Yes.
And that is regarding Dune, another famous Paul out there.
Yes.
Dune Awakening, and more details have come out, as well with, like, I've seen some, like, brief gameplay snippets here and there.
Mm-hmm.
So, Paul, I know you're kind of caught up on Dune Awakening. What are these details?
Yes. So I've been following this game. I'm very curious about this game. I'm big into survival craft games, and this game hits a lot of things that are very interesting to me. I also think it's a visually kind of a stunning game for being an open world kind of MMO type game. MMO survival. But yeah, so the biggest thing that I was hung up on is I wasn't sure if they were going to split up the servers between PvP servers and PvE servers. And it looks like they're taking a hybrid approach where they're keeping all the servers have the same rules, but they're going to be having designated zones within the game map, kind of like what you see in Diablo or games like that, where it's a preset map. So this zone is for PvP. So if you don't want to engage in PvP, don't go to that part of the map. Don't engage with that stuff. And then there's safe zones that are just for PvE and building and exploration and that kind of stuff. It's also worth noting that every week that they plan to change the map slightly. And how they're going to do that is they're going to have a sandstorm come through. And so it's going to raise and lower the level of the dunes in the game. So it's like, okay, so this week, this area is inaccessible because, the sand dunes are covering it. But this other area is accessible because the sand is blown away. And so now we can get into this cave system over here. And then that'll change from week to week. So that sounds pretty interesting. And I'm sure that that'll be tied to like weekly challenges and daily challenges and that kind of stuff. But I'm very happy that they're, putting PvP into specific zones, because I think that allows for the maximum amount of player freedom, where you don't have to feel like, oh, I'm going to miss out on PvP if I just make a PvE character. It's like, it can just be a choice. It'd be like, all right, I feel strong enough now where I can experiment with PvP. and try to get involved in a guild or a clan or groups or whatever, that kind of stuff, while still being able to appreciate the game without worrying if people are going to raid you constantly. So
Yeah.
so yeah.
That's my concern with any sort of online game that is this much of a property. Or I don't know. I know a lot of people are going to play it. And I know a lot of people are going to get really good, and I don't have the time to devote to get like a giant castle.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to just like, oh, I have my own little corner of the world where I can play, do my own thing. And then if I want to go be like, oh, I want to fight somebody, I can go join someone else's war and then be like, that's fun. I'm going to go home now, guys, and go
Yeah.
back to like milking my sandworms or whatever is going to happen in that game, which I hope is milking sandworms.
I hope so. Yeah.
Does this? I know you've been a bit trepidatious about the game because like they haven't told us too much in the past, like their first couple reveal trailers. Does this make you more excited for it? Do you feel like it's a real thing, or where does this move the Paul barometer?
I think it moves it in the direction of liking it. Because again, I was worried about server splitting. I think again it provides maximum freedom. Players can do what they want on a complete map. I still would like to see more about like building and progression. Around building and doing the solo adventure, because honestly, that's kind of what I want the game for. I want the game to be like a more hardcore Valheim experience, where I could just kind of, honestly, I would have probably been fine with like a single player Dune game, but it's 2024 and nobody wants to spend the money on a single player game anymore. They need it to be an online massive multiplayer, everything's
Game.
fusion, like it's
Forever
everything.
game.
Yes, it's the Suicide Squad now. No, but
Yeah. Oh.
but I'm very excited for it. But yeah, it's something that I did see the character. They did release a character creation video, which kind of I don't know that they should have done that, because it looked like a pretty basic character creator to me. It's not like the Baldur's Gate character creator where you can go crazy with it. But I'm excited for it. I'm probably gonna get it unless a review comes out and just say that the game is just dog crap. But I don't know. I'm interested. I'm in for right now.
Hell yeah. Very cool.
So yeah.
Well, if you're down to move along, I'd like to talk about one of my favorite subjects in the entire world, tables, and how to use them. Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom was announced at a pretty, I'd say, banging Nintendo Direct event.
Yeah.
Had some pretty big news and nothing about the next Switch, which is kind of huge. This was like hey, you thought the Switch was dead, but here is a Mario RPG. Here is a Legend of Zelda game. Here is Metroid Prime 4, which we announced back in 2017.
Yeah.
But I think the game of the show for a lot of people was Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. It is a game that I controversially think should be called Legend of Link, because you are now playing as Zelda.
Agreed.
But it's sort of about what she does if Link isn't there to do the adventure, and how she does so. It is the mechanics that I've seen in the game are that she has a magic wand that can copy items, almost anything in the world, items, enemies, furniture, things that you find, important things, not important things, and make a copy of them. Beds. So it is a very interesting concept because it is a little bit more experimental, but it is the 2D Zelda, just like was it Link's Awakening was the one for the Switch that came out recently.
Yes, I don't know about recently.
20 like 2 years ago.
I think it was after Breath of the Wild, before Tears of the Kingdom, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's a 2D kind of like cutesy. They look like toys.
Yeah.
And the environmental stuff is really, really
It looks
great
like the
for it.
same engine, completely the same engine. Yeah.
Same engine. And I like this because it is a chance to get to play as Zelda, which outside of Smash you don't get to do too often, and B, the opportunity to try something like new and weird that Nintendo's probably going to put into one of their mainline Zelda games. But hey, here's a place that we can experiment. This new little like Zelda offshoot. What did you think about the reveal? Are you excited about the game? Give me your thoughts, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge Zelda fan, but I think like about damn time Zelda got her own game. I agree with you. It should be called Legend of Link. Yeah, I mean, it only took 20 years. So, you can play as Zelda. I mean, I know that's not exactly true, but you know what I mean. Where she gets her own game, really.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. I did I think a lot of people kind of got swept up into, oh, it's Zelda's game and that's amazing. For me, I was a little let down by the lack of Switch news, and I don't know. It kind of is reminding me a little bit of like the PS4's life cycle, in that the end of the PS4, like we got a lot of banger first party games to come out. That's when Ghost of Tsushima came out, Last of Us Part 2.
Last of Us 2.
Yeah, even like you could even kind of put God of War, the 2018 God of War in there a little bit. And so it's interesting. I think that this is like Nintendo's push of like, we need to get all of these first party games we've been working on out before we release the new console. And so it's like, you know, we've given you all this time, everybody. Now this is the time limit. It's got to come out this year or next year, because we need to move on to making stuff for the Switch 2 or whatever they're going to call it. So, but yeah, I was excited for it. I hope it's a legitimately good game, and I hope it's a trend that we continue to see. I would like to see more Zelda. You know, I don't know why there can't be a Zelda game, similarly to how Assassin's Creed or Grand Theft Auto treats things, where you can have multiple characters that you can play as. I'm not saying, you know, get rid of Link or anything like that, but like, you know, let players play as both of them. Why not? So I'd like to see the trend continue. But yeah, that's pretty. Yeah. I'd like, you know, I won't be able to say. I'm sure that my girlfriend will pick it up. She's a huge Zelda fan. So yeah, I'll judge it once I have it in my hands.
I'm personally just excited to see how many problems can be solved by just stacking tables on top of each other. Like,
yeah, that should be
what
interesting.
Can you get around?
Yeah.
Probably a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the fun of, especially these last couple Zelda games, with all of the unique mechanics that they throw in. So yeah, very excited. All right. It is time for the main topic, what everyone's been waiting for. We're going to talk a little Erdtree. The internet has been ablaze. I talked about right at the top of how the community's been a little split. People think it's too hard. People think it's, you know, well, you just got to get good, all of this stuff. And, you know, personally, from what I've seen on the internet, and let me know if you have a different perspective on this, Phil, but I've just kind of seen, like, you have hardcore Elden Ring players who have been leveling up their characters nonstop, where they're almost like godlike. They don't even have to, they can just kill, you know, one shot a lot of things, whether that's, you know, using summons or some sort of specific magic, you know, that they've been using. And I think that, you know, FromSoft and Miyazaki have accounted for that. And they're like, well, we're just going to make it harder. So, yeah. Because we know you've been leveling up. So it's harder. And because that's what this game is. It's the challenge. That's the itch that it scratches. So,
you know, they say God saves his toughest battles for his strongest warriors. Well, so does Miyazaki-san. He saves his hardest battles for his toughest internet weebs.
Yeah.
You know, okay, I have conflicting points in my heart about this, because I feel like complaining about Elden Ring being too hard is like buying ice cream and then being like, this is cold?
Yeah.
What do you get this for? That's what you got it for. It's a challenge. It's you know, the storyline in that game, and forgive me, we might get lots of emails about this, but the storyline in that game is cuckoo bananas. Yes. It's spaghetti and meatballs, but the meatballs are made of pine cones and the spaghetti's made of snakes. It is nonsense. It is just a wackadoo game where there's like a bunch of different people are like, I drink blood to summon the demon, and then the demon shows up, and the demon's like, I drink babies. Like, it doesn't make any
You're
sense.
right. Yeah.
So, the game is the that's not the focus of the game. The story is like whatever you make it. But
Yeah.
what really is the point of that game is overcoming the challenge. That is like
Yes.
the trick of it. That is the 10-second loop. The thing that bums me out about games is sometimes when a game is too hard, it stops people from experiencing it.
Mm.
It is the only media that challenges you as you do it. So I think that from an accessibility standpoint, some games can be too hard, and we need to figure out ways to work around it so that everyone can experience games like The Last of Us or
Right.
just really, really great stories or really unique experiences that don't just rely on difficulty, but sometimes the difficulty is ratchets up, but it pushes people away. So my point of view is extreme difficulty in a game is more of an accessibility problem than it is anything else.
Right.
How do you feel about like this the conversation going on about Erdtree? That some people say it's too difficult, then some people say get good.
I mean, I think there's people out there who live for these arguments, and it's like I think that a lot of FromSoft games are kind of like for masochists, and I'm not saying that as like a bad thing, but it's like you want this challenge that you want to achieve, and I definitely hear your accessibility argument, but I feel like if you're like you initially said, it's like if you get a FromSoft game, like ice cream is cold, yes, like
Yeah.
like what you're getting into. Like I don't. So I think it's fine for hardcore gamers to have a game that's like for them. Does that give them a right to crap on everyone else who doesn't like that game? No.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, and so for me, I have a friend who's playing through Ghost of Tsushima for the first time, and he's like, the combat is so good. He's like raving about it, and I was like, yeah, it is. I'm sorry it took you so long to play it, but he's like, it's not like hard. It's just like really satisfying. And I was like, yeah, but you could play it on its maximum difficulty if that's what you want. So that's not what I want when I'm playing a game like that. But if that's what you want, it gives you the tools to be like, I'm going to play this game on lethal or even harder than hard or whatever the Ghost of Tsushima difficulty is.
Ghost of Tsushima is a great example of what I was saying, like an excellent story and a beautiful world that if that game was as hard as it is, as hard as difficulty from the jump and with no like slider,
Yeah.
it would be a big shame that a lot of people didn't get to experience Jin Sakai's like full story.
Yeah. So, and I think if, I think one of our criticisms of Elden Ring that we hinted at already, it's a great game, but there isn't really a story. And so like, that's where I think it makes it okay that it's so hard, because that's what the game is about. Because if the game,
Exactly.
if like, yeah, like you were saying, if like there was this amazing story that we couldn't experience because the game is so hard, then you are depriving someone of that narrative that you're trying to tell. But the game is about being fantastical and living in this fantasy universe where not everything makes sense and not everything is justified, and it's just about the hero's quest. And because the hero doesn't talk because it's you, it's about you, and it's about you're just going on this hero journey and slaying massive things and scratching that,
finding the next best sword. Like
yeah,
it is kind of like a loot hunt. I do think that
yeah,
there's something to that type of game where people who've been playing it for a long time and are level 300 whatever, they are used to one tapping everything now, and they've lost some of their skill. And I think it is just a bit of salt that they're like, oh, this game that's providing a new language to challenge me with.
I agree. Yeah, it's like they've did the grind to be godlike, and now that the creators have accounted for that, they're like, we're starting you back to where you were at the beginning of the game. Not exactly, but it's like that's where we're putting the difficulty, because we don't want you to just blaze through this, and that's what the game is, and that's what it's about. But yeah, I think it's fine that the hardcore super FromSoft gamers have their game and have something that scratches that challenge itch for them. But in general, I like what Ghost of Tsushima or what a lot of other games do, which is we're just going to adjust the difficulty settings. Because
Yeah.
the big complaint originally with Elden Ring is that the sliders for certain things were just way off. Of just like some things just did inconsistent damage, or this thing is supposed to be easier than this thing, but the thing that's supposed to be easier actually does more damage than the bigger enemy, which doesn't make any sense. Or like, enemies that get you in hit locks constantly, and you just can't once you're hit that initial time, you're just gonna die, and it doesn't matter how much health you have.
Exactly.
So so like I like the policing of sliders, playing on normal difficulty and hard difficulty. And I think, my girlfriend played through God of War, the first one, and she started the game on easy because it's just not a game that she is used to playing. She plays a lot of cozy games and whatnot, and I think about halfway through she cranked it up to normal because she had actually learned the mechanics, and she was able to beat and finish the game on normal difficulty in God of War. And I was really proud of her for doing that. But that that kind of thing can't happen if you don't have different difficulty levels. Like, I have a friend who's trying to get his girlfriend into Elden Ring, and it's like, she can't play an Elden Ring. Dude, you need to start her on something that she can play, or something where she can crank the difficulty down, and then she can work up to playing Elden Ring. But you can't just be like, hey, you're not participating in something I like, because it's impossible, for someone who doesn't play that kind of stuff. So
I know you've mostly played phone games, but Elden Ring's pretty simple if you get the hang of it.
Yeah, it's exactly the same.
Yeah, I think that is a bravo to your girlfriend for doing that, and bravo to Sony Santa Monica for making a combat system that's makes people want to engage with it more.
Yeah,
because I think that is a big part of it. Not only do you feel like you're doing the combat is fun and you feel like a badass, when the game can reward you and kind of invite you into that arena and show you why it's fun in an easier difficulty setting, you're not just chasing the, oh, look how badass I am. You're chasing the, oh, this is actually pretty cool. Let's see what else I can do.
Yeah. And I think it's also about that onboarding process of teaching the player how to do things. And, Elden Ring is not that type of game. Elden Ring is a go for it. Figure it out. I don't know. Where do you need to go? I don't know. Go.
Go over there.
Yeah.
Did you survive? Maybe try again, maybe don't. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? Do you even need to go over there? I don't know. I'm not going to tell you. So yeah. But yeah, I'm happy that the internet's having fun, with Elden Ring, and, people are getting their challenge itch scratched. But yeah, I'm going to ride this one out. I keep playing the finals. So
there you go.
That's where I get my challenge from. I like that.
That's right.
I like playing against people who have the same tools that I do, as opposed to a giant monster who can kill me in one hit. So, but that's just me.
Weird. I don't get it.
So, all right. Well, unless you have any other thoughts on Elden Ring or game difficulties, Phil, I think we're gonna wrap it up there. We're just about at an hour. So
I do have one thought on Elden Ring. In that game, your horse has a double jump, which is really cool. That's it. Every game should have that. Every game's horse should have a double jump.
Red Dead Redemption, horse with double jump.
But every time, Arthur Morgan has to respond to it, it's happening in his world. Oh, damn!
Oh my God! How'd you do that?
Gravity,
or lack thereof. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the GGG podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, please give us a subscribe over on YouTube. We are 3 subscribers away from 300 subscribers. And if you're listening to the audio-only version, you're probably listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We would love a review over there, or a follow, or a like, or whatever you can do for us. We would appreciate it. But yeah, I'm happy I'm back in LA. We will get back to our normal show schedule, coming out usually Wednesdays or Thursdays. And yeah, looking forward to talking more games during the summer dog days where nothing comes out until September. So
True. Hey, we're gonna be deep in that Steam sales time.
Oh,
so
yeah,
there's
that's-
always a nice little like.
yeah.
Oh, I forgot about this game.
I forgot about the Steam sale entirely. That's right. It's like it's in a couple weeks, isn't it?
I believe it actually starts the 20th of this month, so I think it's coming up pretty soon. No, wait, not the 20th. I think it's this Thursday. Hold on, let me see.
My God.
Steam sale.
So that's the 27th, this Thursday?
The 27th, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, right around the corner. All right. Well, we'll talk about the Steam sale on next week's episode. But for right now, we are out. Peace, everybody.